because another month has come and gone.
How? I feel like we just did this.
Right?
I literally
April.
sat down and I was like, did I read anything this month? Like I did. But I definitely had to sit down and be like, what was it?
Yeah, okay. So I did the same thing. And as I was going
good.
through, I was collecting them because, you know, because I like being able to hold them up
Yeah.
and show you
Yeah.
guys and talk about them. I read 11 books.
Holy crap. I did not.
But we're not talking about all of them.
Like, oh my God,
because
I read 6.
Okay. Well, are you counting? Because we read ARC books.
Yes.
I'm not going to talk about those because we already did an episode.
Right. I'm going to mention them, but I'm not going to talk about them because I only have a couple that were not on that list.
Okay. And then also I read 2 thrillers. We just talked about those in the last episode. So like, this is good because now I have 6 to tell you.
Which is still so many. So you get to go first. Because I read 6 total. I think 1, 2, half of them, maybe a little more than half are things that we haven't talked about yet.
Okay. So it's easy.
I don't hate that. Yes.
You might notice this giant chunk missing.
There's a hole.
There's a hole for these 3.
Oh, wow. There's a hole that's 3 books wide.
I read, so this is half of mine. So see, I'm not going to keep you here all day.
We could, but here we go.
Yes. So this is the Clockwork series by Cassandra Clare. If you've watched the previous episode, you know I'm a huge fan of hers. I read the Mortal Instruments series. This is a prequel to. And no, that might be a lie. I'm not going to say that out loud. I thought this might have written before. This might have been written after as a prequel to before. So, and I really liked that series. So I was like, okay, I'll pick up this series. So Clockwork Angel is the first book. I have had Clockwork Prince and Princess for months. I could not find this elusive book. And of course it's book number 1. So I couldn't have read. We went to a library sale. And I love a library stuff a bag, and I saw this one sitting in the middle of the table, and I was like, "You are mine, yoink!" So
How many books did you get from Stuff a Bag? Because I'm going to stop you and ask that one. Did you get like more than one bag?
9, maybe. No, there were a lot of people. I was not prepared for the sheer number of people like grabbing and stuffing things, and I was trying to be polite. And that's not how you get good books, apparently. But I did get this one, which is the one I had been waiting on. So when I got it, I was like, hello, now I can read this whole series. So I did. Not as good as the Mortal Instruments series.
Okay.
Had I read this one first, I might not have continued reading.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, that gives me a lot of information, right? Like,
okay. It was just okay. But because I had a little bit of tie to the world that we were building in and the underlying story, and I knew who these people were and who they were leading to, I think made it a little more interesting. But had that been my first dive into her world, not sure I would have. So...
Do you think when it was written, because it was written after the other series, do you think maybe she leaned on the fact that most people had already read the other series? And this was written after.
Unless it was printed after. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay.
However, these stories took place probably like late 1800s. So there was a huge gap between this story. So it wasn't like the parents of the kids we were reading about in the other one. It was like great grandparents.
When you get into the greats, I start to lose. It gets a little fuzzy for me.
Well, and then I was
just
like,
because
okay,
I
who
have
comes
a hard
next?
time. Yeah, I have a hard time placing them. If you give me like a great grandparent and a grandparent, I'm in, right? Yeah. And once we start doubling the greats, I'm out. Like,
it was a ways down. And there are actually, so one of the characters I knew, he's a warlock, and he is immortal.
Nice.
Eternal. I would say he's eternal.
Okay.
So he was in here, and we got a little backstory on how he got some of his magic. It came from this group here, which was really incredible to be able to tie that together, because that's something he's well known for in the other series. So I really like his character. And then we were introduced to another Eternal character, and I was like, okay, I know who this person is in the lineage, or who you should be related to. And I know the warlock was in the other book, but like, I don't remember you. And so I had to actually Google it to see and she had like such a small cameo in the book,
other series. Okay.
In the other series. So I would have liked more tie-in, I think.
Fair.
When I hear that something is a prequel, I kind of think that that's what it's going to be.
Yeah. Would you have preferred like a novella of the warlock versus the entire series? Like, I feel
there is one of those.
Oh,
I'll be headed for that next.
Oh, perfect. Well, let me know how you like that one, because I feel like if we have certain beloved characters, right?
Yes.
There's certain books where I'm like, oh, I would love it. You know, it ends up being like a Broccoli the cat situation where all of a sudden it's like a fan favorite that nobody knew. Like the author had no idea that it was going to be a fan favorite. So then later on, I think that might have happened in the Outlander series, because you have a whole offshoot of books about Lord John. And so I don't know that when Diana Gabaldon was first writing the Outlander series that she expected Lord John to have such a big part, because now he's got his own, it's not even his own series per se. It's just like a couple of things here and there that kind of offshoot into his space. She may have planned it. Maybe, I don't know. But I always wonder, like when an author writes a story and then it comes out and gains traction, I don't think they can always predict like who's going to be a favorite. I think they have certain ones, right? But there are other things where they're like, I had no idea you all were going to love this so much. And then they can take that and make it into something different, which is cool. Yes. But I don't know that they always take that initiative either, because they already wrote it the way they wanted to write it. Yeah,
they wrote the story. And, you know, in the story that I read, his name is Magnus Bane. And in the story, he was a very supporting character.
Right.
And even in this one, we find out some of his stories that he had talked about over here. You know, like I said, they kind of came in here, and here's why. I know that there is at least one book about him, which I feel like him being an Eternal, like,
why not? We could do this for a while.
They're not aging, and there's a huge gap. So, like, you know, you've had plenty of adventures. Yeah.
What were you doing all of those years?
What were you doing?
What were you on to?
How were we moving around? So so maybe I'll look at that. But so, and I don't know if I was more critical of it, or
because you loved it.
I loved the other series. Yeah, the other series was fantastic. This one, if it had been my first one, like I said, I don't know. I think I would have thought the girl at the bookshop was crazy.
Be like, why would you recommend this?
I don't see it.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Especially, like, I wonder how many other people have read that series the same way you did, right? With the ones that came out first and then the prequel, and have thought something similar. So that will be kind of fun to hear. I kind of want to get into that's a
let us know if you're a Cassandra Clare fan, because I know there are like, she has a huge following.
Ooh.
So I'm very curious to see if any of you here.
I'm gonna have to jump into the Cassandra Clare, but clearly not that one. A whole shelf.
Yes.
Okay, so next time when I come to visit you, I'm just gonna peruse your shelves.
You just peruse just up here. Yes.
I'm gonna read this real quick. I'll put it right back. Promise.
Yep.
I just give you my own library card. Like, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It will be fine. So.
What did you read?
So I have been really heavy on the ARC train, but I was like, all right, I want to read something that I can hold in my hand, right? Because most of my ARCs have been digital, which is great, but it just doesn't have the same feeling. And so I read a book called The Honey Witch, which is super. There is magic in this one. It's called The Honey Witch.
Oh, that's why it looked familiar. I actually just saw that at the bookstore the other day, and I was like, why do I? Why is this one?
I put it up on our stories.
Yes, that's why.
This one is by Sydney J. Shields. I can, so that's a little bit of a
Say that
tongue twister.
6 times fast.
6 times fast. And it's actually really cute. So it's about a girl named Marigold, which love that name.
We love that.
She grows up in, you know, say Englandish with her family. They're very proper. They have money. They have all these things. You know, her sister and her brother are, do what they're supposed to do. She's just like, I do not feel like I belong here, right? She's like, I don't like, it's very much like a Bridgerton-esque time period. But there are certain other like more modern themes to it, which was really cool. And so you've got her, and she's like, she can remember this, like she had a friend from a long time ago, like a boy who was a friend a long time ago. And she was like, and then one day, like, there was a storm and we were gone and we never went back to see grandma, and I never got to see that boy again. And like, everything has changed. I've never felt home since then. Well, she finds out that grandma is something called a honey witch, and mom has foregone her own magic in order to have a family, because a honey witch can never fall in love. There's a curse on the honey witch who can never truly be loved back, right? They might love somebody, but they can never have like a fulfilling, loving relationship. So they are basically doomed to be lonely for their existence. And so grandma teaches her, she, decides like, hey, you're kind of the next one. And she's like, well, I'm not really interested in pursuing a relationship anyways. I don't feel like I belong here. I love playing with the moon and all these other things. So she finds out she is a honey witch, and she goes back to the island with her grandmother and kind of takes her place, right? And that's what happens from there. The reason that there is the need for a honey witch that takes care of the bees and has the balance and helps things grow and takes care of the flowers and the animals, like all the things, right? It's very, very cool. She can like heal a whole bunch of stuff. She's like the healer in the little town. It's lovely. And you find out that the curse has been put on by an ash witch, which is basically the counterpart to a honey witch. An ash draws power from things that burn. The honey witch is the one who draws things from the bees and things like that. Right? What an ash. What an asshole.
Don't be an ash.
Don't be an asshole. And so you go through the entire book and you meet different characters, and you find out like you've got representation from, different modes of life. You've got, her brother who is, silly and things like that. And and the sister does actually, they have to end up going back because the sister ends up finding somebody to get married to. And like, so all of these things happen. But like I said, they've got some more of the modern themes because you have, same-sex relationships, and you've got like, but it's really wouldn't be as it was in the real time period because it's very accepted and very much like, oh, that's perfect. Like, I'm so glad you found somebody to love. Like, it's sort of that like accepting piece. So that was really nice. It wasn't a main theme of the book, but it was definitely something that was part of the narrative, which was kind of cool. Right. But it was an easy read, but one that I also couldn't put down. Like, I really enjoyed just reading it and wanting to know what happened. I would read another, if there were another one of these, I would read it, right? It's like one of those ones.
Is it a standalone? The story does not continue yet?
I don't think so, because the thing is, it could just be done. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, hold on a second. There's a different story, but it's not by the same author. It says, if you enjoyed The Honey Witch, look out for A Letter to the Luminous Deep, which is the Sunken Archive Book 1 by Sylvie Catherall. So that's something different, but I guess it's one of those that like, hey, if you liked this, which like, let's do this more often. If you liked it, if you got to the end of this book and liked it, please read this next thing by somebody else. That's cool as heck.
We love that at all. Yes.
Right? So, but again, I enjoyed that it was like, it was something that was wrapped up in a little bow and was exactly what I needed it to be. And it was not a slog to get through it all. So The Honey Witch is one that I definitely recommend. Yeah. It was a nice spring book,
palette cleanser.
Yeah. And it was very much a spring book. Like, I think I picked it because I was like, oh, we're in April. There's flowers, there's blah, blah. So I like definitely, that was a mood read for sure. That was 100% a mood read.
Definitely getting into more mood reading.
Yeah. Me too.
Or maybe I've always been into it. I just have a name for it now.
Yeah, I think I have a name. I didn't think it was a thing before. Now I'm like, aha, yes, this is what I'm
not a weirdo. This is a thing.
This is just what I do. I feel like I'm just putting my hand out. So, what'd you read next?
So, well, yeah, there was no mood reading. It was just very all over the place for me. Okay. So.
Which is fair. April was kind of like that.
It was. It was kind of chaotic, honestly. Yeah. So, Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore.
Oh. Intrigued already. Oh, no.
It was not as good as I really wanted it to be. So it is a mainstream bookstore.
Okay.
It is a used bookstore. However, the clients that are coming in are kind of weird, and they're checking books out as opposed to buying them, which is like, it's like this secret society. And the guy who works the front desk, so it's open 24 hours, so there's 3 people that run the store. And so the guy that works overnight, people are coming in and there's this logbook, and he has to write down what they check out, what they're bringing back, how they looked, like details about them,
like significant details.
Their dress, their demeanor, their like every little detail, like whether they're frantic or calm or like everything. Yeah. So we're keeping that. So he's like, okay, this is weird. Like, but why are we looking at all of this? It's set in San Francisco, so they drop a lot of like big tech name companies.
Oh, okay. Like nowadays,
Google
sort of
and Apple and all of like,
so it's
we're
nowadays. Nowadays.
Yeah. So full nowadays. Right. So
got it.
This guy, curiosity gets the best of him, and he starts setting up a 3D model. And he scans this book, the previous, so all of the, where they chart everything, those are all on the shelf. So he scans like one prior to try to build this model on what people are checking out, what it says, what this is leading them to. Yeah, it gets very techy.
Yeah.
But he takes that to this girl that he's dating who's working at Google. And so now they're using Google property to scan it. And like immediately I'm like, that's a terrible idea because...
Like, hi, there's laws.
Yeah, like there's that. And now they might... Right. I'm like, now they might own that data and like that's supposed to be private and you're trying to do that. I don't know. So that's kind of where my mind went with that. No. But as you find out in the modeling, he solves the first leg of this mystery, and it basically, the books make like a face on the shelf. And he asks Mr. Penumbra about it, and he's like, oh, well, that's really weird that you figured this out, because like that's what people are checking all these books out to like build analytically or by hand.
Okay.
And he like did it without really knowing what he was doing, so he solved the first piece of it.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden we take a hard left, and what we find out that we're actually solving for is like the mystery of eternal life. Somebody put this in a book a long, long time ago, like The Secret to Immortality.
The Fountain of Youth is a story, is what you're telling me.
Like, we just took a hard left.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, like, it's this thing. And then there's like, so then they do a little bit more data modeling and like take the next step and go to New York and visit the, I don't know, the branch of whatever this is.
Okay.
And then they end up like doing a whole lot of other illegal stuff and scanning documents, and there's so much drama. And then everybody gets ousted and their books get burnt. Like all of the knowledge that they've put in just goes away. I'm like, we just took a hard left into something I was not prepared for.
Did you not back up your data? Like my first thought, my first thought is, whoa, illegal. My second thought is, you didn't back up to anywhere? Like you didn't have a hard drive somewhere? No, it was all handwritten.
It was all handwritten. Okay. They did not want to introduce computers because they didn't want it out there. You had to be...
Right. But then they scanned everything.
You had to earn your place. Well, he wasn't supposed to. Right. Like, you had to earn your place in. There were different levels, and that's what the people were solving. They would come in and check the books out, try to solve the mystery, but he did it.
Okay. But he did it just by doing it because he's a super smarty cookie. It
was a mess.
It sounds like I'm a little confused. Like, I can't exactly get, like, the confusion lines off my face right now because I'm kind of like, but what?
Wait, what?
What?
I read it and I have the same face.
Cool. So can I ask what you rated that one?
I think I gave it a 1.
Okay.
Maybe
I would have
2?
gone either 1 or 2 on your typical scale.
Yeah, on my scale, I gave it a 2.
There you go.
Yeah, I gave it a 2 because if it was a 1, I probably wouldn't have kept reading it.
Fair. A 1 is a D.
But we all know I'm not a quitter, so it got a little bit.
I like that they had, because that, I mean, a lot of that, not to say that is what's happening, right? But we do like the data and the analytics and the scraping for information and all that, like that, all of that is happening, right? So it's cool to read something that has that as like a fiction portion of it that's so close to what's happening now. But also it's a little bit like you had an opportunity to do something with this. And we instead...
You just didn't. And that's actually, I saw a little blurb of my review and I was like, this was bland and anticlimactic.
Oh no!
For the first like adventure that we had been on to just cut
to
it
just
like
go.
that. Yeah.
Interesting. It almost feels like it was written by 2 different people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, like 2 different styles.
That would make sense. Yes.
Maybe.
It really
maybe. I don't like
that way.
Right. But I'm also like, I don't know. Again, not a writer. So who knows?
Not a writer.
Maybe it was just there were 2 really great ideas that needed to be married somehow. Maybe it could have been 2 really good books that were separate.
Could have been 2.
Maybe a first and a sequel. Who knows? The world will never know because it is now one book. The world will never know. Because it's 1 book now. I read, my next book was an ARC book that's actually out now, so I can talk about it freely.
Yes.
It was called, and I have to read it because there was like, it's a longer title than I'm used to. It's called The Haven, The Hollow, and The Highborn.
Yes.
Which is kind of fun. It's by Jessa Grey, right?
Mm-hmm,
it's by Jessa Grey. There is magic. It's about a woman who had followed in her father's footsteps, who was part of like the magic council for her town. And her father passes away, and she ends up taking his spot, right? Somebody from the bloodline has to take their spot until there can be a vote or whatever. And they don't really give her the time of day because they kind of didn't like her father's research with what he was trying to figure out. And so she does have the ability for, to utilize magic. And there's a little bit of conversation in the world about like where magic comes from. Right. So you've got like, does it come naturally to people? Are they able to source it from the ground? Does it come from different things? And that's basically the premise of her father's research. Well, you find out that the magic is starting to break. Like something's happening and it's stifling. And if it stifles completely and it just gets cut off, then like the town doesn't, like the people are not going to be able to survive in the way that they normally have. So they have to figure out how to, find out what's happening and fix it. And you then have, so you've got the one thing we haven't talked about is the Highborn. So you've got this prince who shows up, and this woman's father was not a fan of the royal family at all. The prince shows up and she's immediately like at his throat. She's like, you're lazy, you're useless, like you're just here to get in the way. I have to figure this stuff out, like move on. Yeah. And he's like, no, you know what? I think we need to go. We need to talk because there are elves in this, the fae, basically the fae creatures. The fae have answers that they need, but they are, as normal fae, untrusting of humans, don't like them. You can't trust what they say, et cetera, et cetera. And so he decides to take the woman with him so they can go and talk to the fae king and figure out exactly what's going on. And so the entire book is their journey there, and there's a rule in the land that the royalty cannot mix with somebody who has magic because they think that would make too powerful of a ruler. So nobody who has magic is allowed to fraternize, marry, court somebody in the royal family. And so there is a love story that's torn into this. They cannot. It's forbidden lovers. Yes. So we've got a little bit of forbidden lovers. We've got magic. We've got all these different things that are happening. So it almost was like it took a lot of my favorite parts of different like fantasy pieces and kind of shoved them together. You have a really strong female character, which is awesome. And she remains strong for the entire book. Like the king's not like the royal dude, the prince is not your main character. She is. And it's very clear that like you start with her, you end with her. It's very well written that way. And I could read more about these guys as well. Right. And I think there are more to come in this one.
I was going to say, is this a series? It kind of looked like that.
It does.
When I saw it. I saw it in the email. I didn't.
Yes. So this is a Roots of Magic series novella. So it's like the first one, right? So it wasn't short by any, like it wasn't super short by any means. It was a good read. It took me, a couple days to read. It was lovely. And it looks like, as I'm reading it here, yeah, it's available now. You can get it in a paperback copy. You can also get it on Kindle Unlimited. So definitely an option there, which I really enjoy.
Get your copy. I will be, because that sounds fantastic.
But I did, like I said, I really loved this one, and just like the look of it, which will of course put it up. The look, it's like dark green and everything is like gold writing, and it's very like, hey, we're in the magic realm here.
Yes.
So I didn't hate that. I mean, it's got a 4.68 on Fable, which is not a bad book at all. No. Yep, and I literally talk about the strong female main character in this one. She's, and the challenges she faces from other people. I did give it 5 stars because I loved it.
Nice.
It's a little bit of a spicy romance, but nothing that you can, like, that you'll feel weird reading about out in public.
Okay. So,
that was my other one. What else you got on your list? Me too.
I came across, we all know I shop used books. I came across the Britney Spears autobiography.
Perfect. We haven't done autobiographies on there, right? We haven't done any of those yet.
Typically do not do biographies.
Okay.
Not my thing.
I don't.
Not usually a fan. But I saw that one and I grew up. I love Britney Spears growing up. So, like, that was my childhood. So I was like, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Use
You're
the
like,
book.
I grew up with
I
them,
might as
read
well.
about her.
Okay.
That doesn't bode well.
It was so very top level.
Oh.
And I read it in her voice because it was written like that. And we were just like
knowing
laughing
her voice...
our fannies off, and like
that's what
I
it
can't
says.
Believe... Yes, like that was a thing. Like she's super Southern, and so like that is how the book is written. It comes across very much in her voice.
Okay.
And like I said, I grew up. I know a huge fan, so I know her voice very well. Like it was in my head. She had an opportunity to talk about different things, but it felt like, and this sucked and that sucked, and then I did this thing and I met Justin and I met Christina and I was in the Mickey Mouse Club, and then like my dad had conservatorship. Like it
was everything we've read. Like
it was everything we've read, but there was no, and like I said, I don't read biographies.
Right.
I'm just not into them. But I felt like I went into this wanting to know more about her. I know that she was treated poorly throughout all of this. I really wanted to like connect with her heart.
Yeah. I
think because of what I had heard of the book, like with it coming out and watching everything that happened to her. And I just couldn't. Like it was not great. And I didn't give it a rating and I didn't give it a review because who am I to judge someone else's journey?
Okay,
or,
that's fair.
That's really fair. How they explain it. So I didn't rate it, but I did not enjoy it because I wanted to connect and I wanted to not get into the gossip or the drama, but like understand how these things affected her and how she came out or how it changed her character. I think that's maybe why people read biographies, because we're like, what happened to you and how did that change your perspective, or how did that change your life moving forward? And that's kind of what I wanted. Like I wanted maybe a little bit more of like a hero story, like show me, because now you're on the other side of it.
Yeah, we all feel like we know, especially when it comes to celebrities. I feel like we as a people think we have all of this access to them. So when somebody comes out with a book, it's nice to get some of that inner monologue that we don't see, that doesn't get reported, that isn't on social media, that isn't in the tabloids or whatever they're making up. And so I can see why it would be a little bit disappointing not to get that. The way you described it, it almost felt like it was like a Wikipedia write-up. Right? Like it almost feels like it was like a dun dun dun, like early life, about career, like what, like, which is cool. You can get that, but I can get that from Wiki. I don't need to.
Yes, I can get that from, and I knew all of that, and
right. It wasn't
we've been
new.
told at that level. So, yeah, I think I was just looking for a little bit more of like her as a person, like that heart to heart kind of thing, like understanding on a different level, and I just didn't get it. So
that feels disappointing.
Sad for sure.
Yeah. And I think that might be why, especially with some of like my favorite people, artists, whatever, I don't necessarily seek out those pieces because I don't want to be disappointed in that way.
Right? They do
like
say never meet your heroes because
right. Because there are heroes for a reason. And like and when sometimes you peek behind the curtain, right? There was somebody, I can't remember who it was. But I was watching like a quick clip that came up on something I was scrolling the other day, and it was a woman, and she was like, "How do you like?" She was talking to a gentleman who's in a band of some sort, and she was like, "How do you stay so grounded, knowing that you're literally a legend?" And he was like so taken. He was like, "I appreciate you." He's like, "I love you for saying that." He says, "But we forget as humans that like, yes, I get to be this rock star per se." He said, but that's not exactly who I am. There's still a person underneath that persona. There's a person underneath that performer. And so reading those types of books, you want to get to know the person underneath.
I want to know the person.
The performer. Like the performer who makes up the base, the foundation of what we see. Right?
Yeah. And what we've already been told or what we've been led to believe. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So
that's disappointing. Okay. Well, I will not be adding that one to my list. Also, not a huge biography person either. So if somebody can recommend one that I will really like, that gives me a little bit of that, would love to read that. Would be totally into that.
Yeah. Not my lane. Yeah. Did you have another one?
I have one more, which was also an ARC book, right? Like I said, I've been into a lot of ARC books, and this one actually out on April 24th, I want to say. 24th or 25th is when it came out. Ooh. And
so it's also out?
Yes. Yes. And it is by Bridgette Hooper. I want to say it's Bridgette. It might be Bridgette. I think it's Bridgette. It's Ette, which I think is an awesome spelling. But it's called Reverie. And it's a little bit, like I said, a little bit more of the fantasy stuff. You've got the main character, another woman, of course. And whenever she falls asleep, she ends up like transporting to this different place. And it's like her daily life is not super easy. It's not been great. She struggles with things. Finances are not easy, like, the norm. And then when she goes to sleep, she ends up in this like lovely, like grassy shoreline pretty place where she just feels comfortable. But all of a sudden she starts realizing that like she keeps going back to the same place. She ends up meeting a dragon that gets hurt, and she has to nurse the dragon back to health. She ends up finding out that this doesn't ruin anything really in the story, but she ends up finding out that she is able to plane shift. So she's able to go from plane to plane. Yeah. And you spend the book trying to figure out where she feels like she belongs. Because the more she shifts back and forth, the harder it is for her to get out of that medium space, that mid space, where she's like, where it's just nothingness. And so you get into all different, like, her daily life is not, like I said, super exciting, but it is still where she is grounded in this reality. But then you've got the dragons and the people and all of their issues and like all of it. So there's all of these things that are happening. Yeah. And she's trying to navigate between all of those things, and it's actually a lot of fun. It's like, such a different perspective, right? I found myself, especially in the beginning of the book, like longing for the parts where she went back to her dream. Okay. Right? And so I was like, I would be reading like she'd be awake in the part of the story, and she'd be like working at the bakery that she works in, and you're like, just get home and go to bed. You're not having fun here anyways. Just go take a nap, right? And so it's so interesting to have felt that for her, because the author just wrote it so nicely where I was like, oh, I know where we want to be. But there are so many more things that happen
it.
than just that I don't want to give any of that away. But I did, again, another one that I loved that's out now. So both of those are out and able to be read. But my April was definitely full of the ARC reads, which will be nice because that sets us up for our next ARC episode in a few weeks.
Come to the ARC side.
Right? Come to the ARC side. Oh, I love the ARC side. I love the ARC side.
Wow.
So a lot of fun changer things. Did you have any more?
I have one more.
Okay,
I
perfect.
Just a day ago.
Ooh.
The Secret Bridesmaid.
I saw
Have you
this.
seen this?
No, I saw it on your story and was immediately like, I want to read that. Do I want to read this?
You want to read this? I'll bring it.
Okay, good. I want to read this. Thank you.
And I'll bring it to the retreat. I have
Perfect,
a stack
because
for you.
I literally saw it and was like, that looks like a me book. That looks like something I would enjoy.
Yes. So this is super cute because we explore. So this girl, Sophie, is a professional bridesmaid. So she contracts out her services. She helps She helps women.
Either way, one at a time.
Woman.
She helps woman by woman.
As they're getting married, like she does bridesmaids things, but she's secret. So usually it's just her and the bride that know that she hasn't been there for their whole life. So they make up this story and she fills in. But she's kind of like less of a planner, but more of like an empowerer. Like you're doing fine, or we're redirecting, or we're like here to support the bride. And she gets hired by this very royal, this is English, British.
Perfect. I like it
by
even more now.
the lady for her daughter who is getting married, who pushes people away. She's had some issues in her past. She has no desire. So she actually, her name is Cordelia, and she is sabotaging Sophie for a while. But they changed Sophie's identity so that if people were to find out or look her up, so it's the bride, the mother of the bride, and Sophie. No.
Right.
And so it's like Sophie with this headstrong, you're not going to break me down.
Yeah.
And it's Cordelia who is like,
I'm going to get you.
No desire for you to be here. I don't want you here. And so she tells Sophie, she's like, well, I want swans to walk down the aisle and I want to borrow the queen's tiara to wear like for my wedding, like making these ridiculous demands just to set her up, because she was like, you know, they made a deal. She was like, if you can't fulfill or whatever, like then you will quit. And Sophie was like, well, I'm not going to quit. And so it's like that. But
it's like an enemies to friends.
It is. And it's a super cute relationship where the focus is on these two women and like building this trusting relationship. And of course there's like a massive fallout.
Naturally.
You know, I mean, that's just kind of the arc of a story. And it's how they each deal with it. And then like it was so good.
It sounds
super
nice.
cute.
It sounds like the Honey Witch. It sounds like something that's just cool to read.
It's just a feel good.
It can be one and done, and it's fine.
Yeah.
I would read more, but it could be a one. Like, I love the series that don't necessarily go together, but they have the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, if you had Sophie in this book, and then you had, like, on the other side, you had, like, somebody who was the groomsman who was doing it, right? Same sort of thing, but, you know, different stories altogether. I love that kind of stuff. It sounds really good. Yes, I would like to read that one.
Super cute. And I was like, I feel like I'm friends, you know?
Yes.
Like, I feel like I'm friends with her, and I feel like I'm supporting her as she goes on this, and you're, like, rooting for her, but you're also, like, fully understanding where Cordelia is coming from, and you're like, oh my God, I want this to work.
I want them just to be friends and get over it. Like, and that's the thing. There are some times when I read a book and I get to a point where I'm like, just kiss and make up already, right? But you know it's not time yet. Like, the characters aren't ready. Yeah. Like, you can see where it's going. But you're also like, just get there. But I also know if we get there, then I don't get to read more of the story because it'll be over.
Right.
So it's a little bit of that push and pull.
Yes.
100%.
Yes. It was so good. Super cutesy.
Oh, it sounds wonderful. We read a lot of good books this month. Again,
really did.
I feel like this whole year has been full of like reads that we have enjoyed or at least been able to share. And I know that people are adding them to their, their lists and things like that. I've heard that a couple times. I'm like, oh, I added this one to my list. I added this one to my, my notes or whatever. So we appreciate that you all are taking, our recommendations with a grain of salt or however many grains of whatever it is you're taking.
I got a whole bowl of rice for mine. There's like 1 million of them.
Right? I'm like, I just have all of the things. Like, just keep it going.
I don't know if that means it's been a boring first quarter or because I've been reading a lot. So that means nothing else is happening yet.
I will say, I do think us having the podcast has given me the permission to read more.
Yeah.
And so I have loved that. Okay. So from just a personal perspective, thank you for doing this like every week so that we can just read more crap. Like these are the things that I love to do. So
actually a good point. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah.
Yeah, I have a reason to read, right? Just above and beyond the fact that I love doing it. Yeah, the permission to.
I'm here to give you permission to read. Because I know that these are probably not on your TBR, but maybe they are now. So I love that.
And if there's things that we're missing on our TBRs, please let us know. What have you read recently that you were like, hey, these are things this month I really enjoyed, or here are the ones that you need to stay away from. We will take both.
Yes, we like that too, because I have a giant TBR at this point, and if you're not loving something, then maybe I won't pick that one next.
Exactly. I have a TBR house, so whatever we can add to it is good. Still on the road to my official in-home library. So
has your number changed? How many
not dramatically
does thou have?
Right, I've been very good and not gone to purchase a plethora of extra, but I don't count any of the ARC books because they're not physical books in my house. Which is not something that we considered before. We didn't talk about that during our episode, but
we didn't. But of course,
we haven't.
Of course, we're in the same mindset,
right? And so I was like, I didn't add those because they're not physically in my home, right? Because if it goes out, it gets taken off. If it comes in, it gets put on. So that's where we are. Nothing dramatic, but hopefully, come this summer, I will make a couple trips to a couple bookstores and significantly increase that number.
Yeah, I have been to several little library sales. So I am up quite a few. Yeah.
Oh, it's also garage sale season, yard sale season, which means books galore. So if you are a used book fanatic, check out bookstores or like a Facebook marketplace or whatever. Right?
Love it. Yes.
You've got it. So
yes.
Otherwise, subscribe in 25 if you're still here. We appreciate you being here.
25. Give us a thumbs up. Wait, does this one do anything? Wait, is this the...
Yeah, there it is.
I was like, I know it's something.
You're like, there's something happens.
Show us your fireworks. Give us some thumbs up.
Because it lets us know, like our view to like ratio lets us know the things that you want to continue to see from us and the things that you're enjoying. So thank you for being here.
And hey, what's up to our new subscribers? Have you seen 41 now?
Right? Yes. We're up and coming with
being here.
Exactly. And thanks for having the conversations with us here as well as over on Instagram and on Threads. And we've got some other fun stuff coming. We're going to be together in person again soon, so look out for that.
So soon.
Just a few weeks.
Is happening.
Yep. You'll have to see us in person again and deal with our, lovely laughter.
Shenanigans.
Exactly. So get your wine glasses ready because we're coming back soon.
Yeah.
Until then, we will see you next time and happy reading.
Bye.
It was great to have you join us for today's chat. If you'd like to continue the conversation, provide a recommendation, or simply say hi, pop over to Instagram at wine.read.wine or leave us a comment on our YouTube channel. We'll see you on the next episode. Happy reading!